So in order for you all to continue to get to know me better, it's time for another tag. What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I will be doing a tag video. I did a tag video late last year. I did the BookTube newbie one, and today I've chosen to go with the A to Z book tag, which will allow you all to continue to get to know me a little bit better. So let's kick it off with A, which is A is for author I've read the most. That'd have to be Stephen King. I've been a Stephen King fan for most of my life. His body of work is so vast. There's never any shortage of reading material, and he's definitely the author I've read the most in my life. So there you go. B is for best sequel. The best sequel I've ever read in a series would have to be Wizard and Glass from the Dark Tower. This is the fourth volume in the series. I love the series. I think the Gunslinger, the first in the series, was awesome, but Wizard and Glass just pushes all the buttons for me. I love it because it delves right into Roland's backstory on how he met his friends, and how he fell in love for the first time with Susan Delgado, and just the sheer tragedy that Roland went through in that story is incredible. So it's not a thin book by any means. I think it's about 700 or 800 pages, but it doesn't read like a long book. It reads very, very quickly, and it's one I will probably read multiple times over my life. C is for what I'm currently reading. Currently I'm reading NYPD Red 3. I'm 40 pages in and I'm not addicted to it yet. It hasn't grabbed me as I thought it would, and I'm going to give it another 40 pages before I tap out on it. I've got too many other awesome books to read to worry about slogging through an NYPD Red. So there you go. I'll let you know how that goes at the end of the month. D is my preferred drink while reading. I only drink two liquids, water and coffee, so whenever I'm reading I do like to have a steaming cup of joe next to me. E is for e-reader or physical book. For me, it's definitely a physical book. I like to hold a book, I like to physically turn pages, I like to look over the top of the book and see how far I'm getting through it. The e-reader has its place. I quite like reading it for convenience. If I'm at an appointment, or if I'm waiting on something, you can always pull the e-reader out, read a few quick pages, and then find your place on the physical version when you get home. So definitely it has its place, but most of the time it's definitely a physical book for me. F is for a fictional character you would have wanted to date in high school. I have to think long and hard about this one. If I was to pick one, it would probably be Arwen from Lord of the Rings, I guess, the Elven princess. No, don't know who else to pick, but there you go. G is glad you gave this book a chance. Now, I am glad that I gave The Tattooist of Auschwitz a chance last month. I normally don't read that type of book, but I found myself being a little bit burnt out, and I just wanted some sort of easy read to get me through, and was just enthralled with the story, and it's definitely something I'm glad I gave a chance to, and so much so that I plan on reading a little bit more about the subject in non-fiction as well this year. H is for a hidden gem. Now, a hidden gem that I have is a not so common copy of The Green Mile that I picked up at a local book grocer store not too long ago. Obviously the original editions that my wife owns, where it was serialized into 6 separate parts. There was I think there's a movie tie-in edition, I believe, but I like the edition there. It's all green and just looks nice. It's a really nice copy, so definitely a hidden gem. I is for important reading moment in my life. Probably the most important reading moment in my life is when I discovered Stephen King for the first time, and I will mention the story on how I came to be a constant reader another time, but it certainly changed my life, and that's pretty much the only answer I can give for that. J is for just finished. I did just finish NYPD Red 2, which I mowed through in no time at all. It was a really good story. There was a pretty good hook at the start and really drew me in. So unlike NYPD 3, yeah, it was a crack of a read, and that's why I decided to pick up NYPD 3 straight after, because I thought it would be have the same hook and get me straight in, but hasn't done that yet. So we'll see how that goes. Kind of books I won't read. Now, I'm mainly a genre reader. I don't read general fiction at all. It's only this year that I am going to move into classics, read a bit more of the classics that are out there that are waiting to be read, and we'll see how that goes. But I guess I wouldn't read romances. Pretty much, that's the short answer. Longest book I've ever read. Now, this is going to be either It or The Stand, but I think that record is going to be broken this year, because I do plan on reading The Count of Monte Cristo, which is about 1,400 odd pages. So if I can manage to get through that, I plan on reading it in the winter time here in Australia. If I get through it, we're going to have a new winner this year, folks. So there you go. Major book hangover. Now, a major book hangover would have been from Matthew Riley's latest book. He's my favourite Australian author. He wrote the last Jack West Jr. book last year called The One Impossible Labyrinth. I was chopping at the bit to get it, and I didn't get a chance to read it during the day because of my day job, but that night I started and finished it at 12:30 a.m. and felt a bit seedy the next morning. So that's definitely a book hangover that I've had in recent years. Number of bookcases I own. Technically I own 7 bookcases. I have 5 full-size ones, and I have a half-size one on the end over here, and I also have the corner unit that you can see behind me as well, which is half the width. So 7 shelves technically. One book I've read multiple times, that's pretty easy. We've got The Shining by Stephen King. It's my favourite book of all time, so naturally I have and will read it multiple times. P is for my preferred place to read. I prefer to read in our living area, on the couch. I like to tuck my knees up and just relax and read a book there, also with the TV on at a low volume in the background. So it's the perfect environment for me to read in. I don't read in bed. I can't read in bed. I'm too old. I get tired. And if I were to attempt to read in bed, I'd be lucky to read 1 page before I'm out. So there you go. Q is for a quote that from a book that inspired you. There's one quote I can think of from a book that I haven't read yet, and I plan on reading this year, which is The Odyssey by Homer. And this may come out wrong. I think this is how it goes. Fate whispers to the warrior, "You can't withstand the storm," and the warrior whispers back, "I am the storm." Now that quote is very inspirational. It's a kick-ass quote. It's worthy of being tattooed on my skin, which I may end up doing one day. We'll see. But it is an awesome quote, and a lot of people would probably agree. R is for a reading regret. I don't have many reading regrets, but one I do have, which I am dealing with this year, is not experiencing or just delving into classics until now. Some classic books were forced upon us at school. We had to study them, and what I'm interested in doing now is just going back and revisiting a few of those that I read in school and ones that I hadn't read in school, just to see what I think. I think it's important for my growth as a reader to do that. There is a lot of talk on BookTube about most of the classics where they're almost worshipped. They're that good. For example, Count of Monte Cristo, which is one I'm going to read in the winter. It's gotten so many good reviews, and it's talked about all the time on YouTube as being the ultimate revenge story, and I'm really looking forward to it. But I'm more interested to see how I feel about classic books as an adult than when we read them in school. I'm going to find that very interesting, and I've selected 10 titles for this year to read, and I've done a separate video on that will come up at the end of this video, so you can click on that and watch it. And S is for a series I started and I need to finish. Now, I really enjoyed The Demon Cycle by Peter V. Brett. I mowed through the first 4 books like there was no tomorrow. Fantastic. Got to the 5th book called The Core and just couldn't get into it. I've made 2 attempts to get into it. For some reason I can't, and I know I have to slog past the first 50 pages or so to get enthralled back in that world again. But there's so many other awesome books I want to read. Maybe I'm impatient, but I'm just not willing to commit to an 800-page book that hasn't drawn me in yet. But never say never. I will aim to finish it this year. It would be a nice one to get off my plate this year, because it has been hanging over my head for a little while, and I do need to deal with it. So there you go. T is for 3 of my all-time favourite books. Well, you know, one of them already is The Shining. I would have to say it as a close second, and I would probably pick the first Jack West Jr. Adventure written by Matthew Riley, which was 7 Ancient Wonders, which came out over 15 years ago and turned out to be one of the most awesome action series of all time. If you haven't read Matthew Riley, he is really, really popular here in Australia, and it's just, every book reads like a multi-million-dollar budget movie. Matthew Riley is very, very gifted at action scenes, and so much so that he directed his first movie last year here in Australia called Interceptor, and recently he's been back in Australia to put the final touches on post-production to be released by Netflix later this year, I think, so stay tuned for that. But he is a genius. Now, U is for Unapologetic Fanboy 4, and a lot of people aren't going to agree with me about this, but it's not. A couple of years ago they released the Dark Tower movie, and you know the one I'm talking about, with Idris Elba cast as the gunslinger, and I remember the shitstorm that the diehard Dark Tower fans brought up about it. It got slammed, and you know what? It wasn't what the fans wanted, me included. I wanted the sprawling, epic TV series. I wanted it all. But you know, the movie goes for 90 minutes, and you just think to yourself, well, what the hell is this? But I went into the cinema with low expectations. I knew it wasn't going to be what us fans wanted, but you know, it was a movie made about the Dark Tower. I've been wanting to see something about the Dark Tower for a lot of years, and I just wanted to take what I can get. So me being, as I get older, I mellow out a little bit, and I thought I'm going to be philosophical about it and just go and see it and give it a go and try and go in there with an open mind. And I loved who they cast as Jake Chambers. I think that was brilliantly done. Some of the elements that were faithful to the series were great. I would have liked to have seen the Battle of Tull, where Roland just guns down most of the inhabitants in the town. He just blows them all away. If you've read The Gunslinger, you know what I'm talking about. But it was fun to hunt for the Easter eggs and just get a taste of what might be possible. So there you go. So I'm not going to apologise for that. A lot of people are going to disagree with me, and you get that. But it was a question about being unapologetic for something, so there you go. Now, V is for very excited for this new release. Now, one immediately comes to mind, and I have to wait until October for it to come out. It is the latest Jack Reacher book by Andrew and Lee Child. It's only recently that both the covers for the US and UK have been revealed. It's only recently that the titles have been revealed, and the title is No Plan B. And the great thing I like about Lee Child, he never lets his fans down. He prolifically releases a book every October. So you come into a new year and you know that October is going to be awesome because you know the book's coming. I won't touch upon George R.R. Martin with his book that's meant to be coming out, and I won't touch upon Patrick Rothfuss, who is meant to be releasing a book as well. I'm not going to bring that up anymore, but a lot of the people like myself that are aware of what's going on with the fandom with those two series and know what I'm talking about. So Lee Child never disappoints his fans, so I'm gonna leave it there. Worst bookish habit. Now, I don't have a worst bookish habit as such. I don't dog-ear books. I don't crack the spines. It's a cardinal sin. A lot of the books that I own brand new, there are a couple of second-hand ones that are slightly worn on the spine, which is beyond my control. What is in my control is keeping my spines pristine, and you'll notice that when you take a look at my bookshelf tour video, which I'll put at the end of this as well, just to show off how I look after my books. And so, getting back to my worst bookish habit, I would have to say is buying too many books. I get a little bit clicky on the old mouse button when I'm on Amazon lately, so you know, if that's a worst bookish habit, well, so be it. Now, X marks the spot. X is for X marks the spot. Now, with this one, I was required to go along my shelves from the start and count the 27th book and pull it out, and it happens to be a Malazan volume, Midnight Tides by Stephen Erickson, the very book that I bailed on in December because I did not have the mental capacity. I wasn't in the right headspace to delve into a really thick Malazan book. There's too many other things I want to read first, and I do plan on making headway with the Malazan series this year. I'm not sure when, but it will happen. I think now I need to be in the mood for that kind of book, so I'm not tapping out. I'm just delaying it for a little while, so we'll see how we go. Now, Y stands for your most recent book purchase. Now, the funny thing about this, there are several that all arrived at the same time in the post this past week. But if I'm going to show one off, I'll show off my beautiful copy of The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. It's a beautiful Barnes & Noble leather-bound edition, and you can see it's got the silk bookmark here, the beautiful gold foiling, beautiful spine, and the ship there that I think they call the Parion that appears at the start of the book, I think, and you can see the end papers there, which are absolutely beautiful. So a very fine edition. Now, that is not the edition I'm going to be reading. It's too good to read. It's a collector's item. I will be reading just a paperback reader's copy of it, so that I don't have to worry about that beautiful edition being damaged. So there you go. Now, as for the other purchases, I'm not going to reveal those today. I'm going to wait until my February book haul, so there will be quite a few on there, some very cool stuff to show you. And the letter Z is for Sleep Z's, and something which kept you up all night. Now, I can't easily answer this because I can't remember where a single book kept me up all night. Some books have kept me up late, but I have not pulled an all-nighter in my entire life, so not a really good answer for that one. But you know, you hear of people doing it, and people doing 24-hour reading blogs. How they do that, I don't know. I'd I'd be surprised to find out how many books I could read in a 24-hour period non-stop. I think I would have to dose up on a lot of no-dose pills and caffeine. I don't know how I'd go, but maybe one day it'll happen when I retire and have a bit of time on my hands. We'll see how we go. But that is my A to Z book tag. So please don't forget to like and subscribe. Offer any comments below. Any feedback is always appreciated, and I will respond to that. And things coming up on the channel, I'll be doing, well, it won't be that long, and I'll be wrapping up January. I'll be revealing my February TBR, which I've touched upon a few titles that are going to be on my Feb TBR in the previous video for fantasy fiction stories for next month. And some more book reviews, and I think I might even do my top 10 favourite characters of all time. And in the coming weeks, I'm going to possibly be looking at my top 10 Stephen King covers, which will be interesting. So stay tuned for that. But until next time, see you later.